always thought my life was perfect. My husband, David, was kind and loving. We had been married for 5 years, and everyone said we were a happy couple. I worked in a small office, and David worked as a manager in a company. We had a small, cozy apartment, a little dog named Max, and life seemed normal. Every morning, David would wake up early and make me coffee. He would kiss me goodbye before going to work. I always smiled and thought, I am lucky. I have a wonderful husband. On weekends, we went to the park, watched movies, and sometimes visited my parents. Life was simple but happy. I trusted David completely. He never gave me any reason to doubt him. Sometimes he came home late, but I thought it was because of work. He was a busy man and I understood. I never asked too many questions. I believed in love and honesty. One day, I decided to clean the apartment deeply. While moving some boxes, I found a small envelope hidden behind a bookshelf. It was addressed to a woman I had never heard of. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were photos of David with another woman. They were smiling, holding hands, and clearly very close. At first, I could not believe it. I thought it was a mistake. Maybe the photos were old or from work. But then I noticed the dates. They were recent. My heart started to hurt. I felt confused and scared. Was my husband cheating on me? I wanted to ask him, but I was afraid. I felt betrayed. How could the man I loved, the man I trusted, hide this from me? I tried to think positively, but I could not. That night, I stayed awake staring at the ceiling. I kept thinking, I never knew the truth about my husband. The next day, I tried to act normal. David came home smiling, asking about my day. I hugged him, but inside I felt empty. I wanted to scream, but I stayed quiet. I needed answers, but I did not know how to start. I began noticing small things. His phone always stayed with him. He received messages late at night, and sometimes laughed quietly when reading them. He started going out late for work more often. I tried to believe him, but my mind would not rest. I decided to follow him one evening. I waited outside our apartment until he left. He walked to a small cafe downtown. I hid behind a wall and watched. Inside, I saw him sit with a woman. She had long brown hair and wore a red coat. They were holding hands and laughing. My stomach dropped. I ran home and cried. I could not stop thinking about the photos and what I saw. How long had this been happening? Was I not enough for him? I felt angry and hurt, but I also felt confused. I loved him, and I did not want to lose him. That night, I decided to check his phone while he was sleeping. I felt nervous and guilty, but I needed the truth. I opened his messages and saw hundreds of texts to the woman. They called each other love and planned secret meetings. My heart broke into pieces. I realized that David had been lying to me for months. My perfect life was a lie. I felt stupid for trusting him completely. I could not eat, sleep, or think. Every memory of our life together felt fake. I wondered if he had ever really loved me. I knew I had to confront him, but I also knew it would be painful. I needed to be strong. I wanted him to understand how much he had hurt me, but at the same time, I was afraid of what I would hear. The next evening, I waited for David to come home. When he entered, I was sitting in the living room, trying to appear calm. He smiled at me, but I did not respond. My silence confused him. "Is everything okay?" he asked. I looked at him, my eyes filled with tears. "No, everything is not okay," I said. "I know about her, David. I know about the woman." His face changed. He looked guilty and nervous. "What do you mean?" he asked. I stood up and showed him the photos and the messages on his phone. His hands shook, and he could not speak. "I trusted you," I said, my voice trembling. "I loved you, and you lied to me. How could you do this?" I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and disappointment. David tried to explain. He said he did not mean to hurt me, that it just happened, and that he loved me too. But his words felt empty. I realized that love cannot exist without honesty. If he could betray me like this, then our love was never real. We argued for hours. I wanted to understand why, but no answer felt enough. I felt like a stranger in my own life. The man I thought I knew, the man I married, was someone else entirely. Finally, I made a decision. I told him that I needed time and space. I could not forgive him immediately. I loved him, but love alone could not heal this pain. I needed to think about my future, about my self-respect. David begged me to stay, promising he would change. But I could not trust him anymore. I felt my heart breaking, but I knew leaving was the only way to protect myself. That night, I cried myself to sleep, feeling both free and lost at the same time. Days passed, and I slowly started to regain my strength. I focused on myself, my work, and my little dog Max. I called my best friend, Sarah, and told her everything. She supported me and reminded me that I deserved honesty and respect. I realized that David's betrayal was not my fault. I had loved him genuinely, and he had chosen to lie. Accepting this truth was painful, but necessary. I started exercising in the park every morning, and reading books I had never had time for. Each day, I felt a little stronger. I blocked David's number and stopped checking his social media. It was difficult at first, but I knew it was the only way to heal. Slowly, I stopped thinking about him constantly. I allowed myself to smile again and enjoy small moments in life. One evening, I went to the park with Max. I watched children playing, couples walking, and people laughing. I realized that life was still beautiful, even after betrayal. I had been hurt, but I was alive, and I could start again. I learned a valuable lesson. Trust and honesty are the foundation of love. Without them, even the happiest life can become a lie. I still think about David sometimes, but now I do not feel pain. I feel gratitude for the chance to grow stronger and wiser. In the end, I never needed his love to be happy. I discovered my own strength and learned to value myself. Life was not perfect, but it was real. And that was enough. I never knew the truth about my husband until it was too late, but I learned the truth about myself. I am stronger than I ever imagined, and I will never let anyone take my peace away again.